You're about to see Crazy Gadget, the gravity-defying Sonic level from Sonic's perspective. And let me tell you, as someone that praised this level just the other day, it's better this way. After hitting the first gravity switch, what I'm saying becomes apparent. This stage from Sonic's point of view works. Super well, in fact. The purpose of these curved walls, which I argue is for spin dash jumping, was lost on a lot of players due to them being attached to the ceiling. But now that they're on the floor, the aha moment of attempting to perform spin dash jumps off of them comes a lot more naturally. Collecting these rings and beating up this artificial chaos doesn't feel much different from doing the same actions right side up. And that's good. It should feel the same, since all that's changed is where the gravity's pointing. I feel like more players would have thought to enter this set of doors while upside down if they were viewing the stage from this perspective. From this angle, it almost seems obvious it'd be an alternate route, but you don't get that inclination when right side up. Taking this Giga Chad route, you'll notice that you and your enemies are being affected by different gravities, forcing you to adapt and engage them in this new way. Sure, the original version of this level had you do this, but it didn't feel that different since the enemies were still right side up from your perspective, meaning you knew exactly where to target them and how, whereas here, you need to take a moment to realize that the enemy's vulnerable spots have been flipped. Falling to the bottom of this tower looks a lot more natural here. It's also easier to notice that the green glitchy patterns on the walls look as though they're falling with you. Upon taking the high-speed warp tube, you're given your rightfully earned 1-up and come upon a pretty clear path, except there's something cool I need to show off here. If you spin dash jump off this curved wall, then you can gain enough height to perform consecutive upside down homing attacks on these beetles, including the one with the spring hat. I genuinely thought that hitting this guy from anywhere would force you to spring up, since otherwise you wouldn't be able to take the main route. But no, if you hit him from his butt, then he explodes. Way to make me feel bad about experimenting with these bots' lives. Aside from using your bounce bracelet to reach the bomb box, you can also spin dash jump from the ledge here too, blowing up the bots while on the ceiling. The spring at the end of the hall prepares you for the next section, whose threatening aura remains the same since the vat of acid is both on the ceiling and the floor. But hey, at least you get some grinding action in, where you're dropped off into the gravity room, which feels a lot more menacing from this angle for some reason. Maybe it's cause here it feels like you're trapped in a box, whereas from the other perspective, it's pretty obvious you've got to go down since Sonic's clearly on the ceiling. The left switch's path, which is now the right switch, has that one abyss on the wall, and man does it look intimidating now that it's looming above you. Not saying it being below was bad, but to come across a wall of darkness that you can't scale is just frightening to me. The right switch's path, which is now the left switch, has the gravity rail, which frankly looks terrifying. It shoots off into the distance and curves above your head. It doesn't feel reliable at all, but at this point it's your only option. Sure, the camera will follow Sonic's gravity when you take it this time around, but that doesn't solve the inherent problem of not pointing at the puddle of chaos up ahead. After fighting the fourth trimester chaos and eventually flipping again, you get this really cool shot of the ancient platforms floating upside down. With the super bounce, you can actually scale their undersides and spin dash jump to the main route. Sure, you can just take the spring instead, but this is cooler, okay? Backtracking and getting the electric shield is cool and all, but we can't forget about this sick maneuver, which looks incredibly trippy now that we're sticking to Sonic's point of view. I can't tell which version of this I like more, so I'll just end up praising them both. The main route's a whole lot of fun when played like this due to the upside down rails you can grind on and the many enemies that are at a wacky angle. You can easily perform the consecutive homing attacks to light speed dash and light speed dash attack maneuver here, but I think I prefer the former one's original version because of how chaotic it looks with Sonic being the one that's upside down. Granted, the idea for doing these actions here in the first place comes a lot more naturally to me when you're looking up at the threat than looking down at them. Taking the high-speed warp tube will greet you with rings that for some reason now look upside down. We came across some ones earlier that were upside down, but for some reason this is the first time I actually felt like they looked that way. Maybe I'm just losing my mind in here. Man, it feels a lot better to disassemble these droids while right side up. Sure, doing it upside down was a challenge, but it wasn't one I found super fun. Assuming you already have the flame same ring, you can somersault on through to our laser boy, who seems perfectly content with shooting at the walls for all of eternity. Whoever programmed him must have left out a semicolon. One rail down in a Lake Michigan later and you'll see what was originally the upside down lightspeed dash, which feels a lot safer here. Honestly, I dig that. The other version gave me too much anxiety and caused me to die too much, so I'll take a personal L in saying that this is a lot better. Soon enough, you pay your respects to the rings, run onwards to reach the high-speed warp tube, and flip yet again where— hold on a sec actually. Oh my, it makes so much sense now. When I was little and broke this container while the gravity was right side up, the animal inside would pop out and walk around in the acid, leaving me dumbfounded as to how I was supposed to get him without getting hurt. But now I see that the intended way to retrieve this animal is by flipping gravity first and then breaking the container open on the ceiling. Oh, you have no idea how cathartic it feels for that little mystery of mine to be solved over a decade later. Backtracking just to get stuck feels as wholesome as ever, but enough about that. Check out this setup. We've got two upside down gun robots with a right side up rocket. It just looks so cool in here. Despite being presented with a gravity switch, you actually don't have to flip it. You can instead enter the hallway while upside down and hit the door switch by bouncing up to it. Oh, and did you know that if you hit the checkpoint while upside down and die later on, that you'll respawn while upside down? Kind of freaky. The final destination is the gravity area. I don't care what Eggman says, I'm still not calling it a room. I'm actually interested in hearing what other people's opinions are of this place now that the camera is following Sonic's perspective. I say that because there were quite a lot of people commenting on the Crazy Gadget analysis video saying that this place was their main gripe with the level as a whole. If you're one of those people, then do let me know. Does the camera following Sonic's perspective like this help you enjoy this last section more? Or was there something else about the gameplay here that just doesn't vibe with you? Possibly the fact that you've got to stop to press a switch each time? I can get behind that. It's not the greatest mechanic in the world, but it's clear to me after experiencing Final Chase and Mad Space that this was the team's best method of solid gravity shenanigans. It's just a shame that they look like they had so much fun designing sections like these with all the different ways you can experience it, and yet their single choice of not having the camera follow Sonic's point of view ended up dampening the entire experience for a lot of people. I might be getting a little ahead of myself and claiming that I think most people are going to prefer this version, but hey, I know I do, because getting to see this level's infrastructure from entirely different angles whenever gravity gets flipped is sick, and I absolutely wish this is how it was like in the original version. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.
No way!